Yabcast? There is no way to do Yabcast while living up to the Yab in the name. Not at this point. I'm gonna give you guys the cold, hard reality of the situation. Yabcast would just be regular collab streams. And at that point, we could just do regular collab streams. Because we can't do anything actually Yab. Not at this point. Not with so many people breathing down the neck. And they're gonna specifically be watching the Yabcast stuff. Waiting to see if anything Yab happens. It can't happen. It can't happen. Literally just collab with Lumi. I do collab with Lumi. Nobody will notice the lack of Yab. Do a Yapcast. I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to do it anymore. You know what I think about podcasts? I think that you have to have a very specific plan for your podcast because the market is so heavily saturated. And if you take away the VTuber element from the VTubers, you're now competing with content that is infinitely higher production value than the VTuber sphere is used to engaging with. And so most VTuber fans are not going to want to watch a podcast. And most podcast fans are going to find the VTuber podcast to be too low quality in comparison. It was a bad idea. It was an idea that only could have worked in the early days of Face Connect. And now it cannot work because there's too many schizophrenic people breathing down our necks. And I go, thank you. I want Pippa to be on Joe Rogan. Have you guys watched VTuber podcasts before? They're all terrible. They're all terrible. I watched some VTuber podcasts and they are fucking bad. I've listened to so many fucking podcasts. Icky Blackfoot, thank you. I just want to be entertained. I think it's pretty simple. Callaghan, thank you. Bro, you're literally speaking like a podcaster. Go for it. No. Kaching got live support. That just... Kaching just feels like a regular collab. I feel like Kaching is like a VTuber collab series. VTuber podcasts, aren't they just Zatsudans? Ideally, no. What's the difference? My personal opinion, the difference between podcasts and regular VTuber collabs. Like, this is hard to talk about because people are gonna be like, oh, well, actually, this other podcast is like basically like a VTuber collab, blah 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 blah. But in my opinion, listening to like some actually successful podcasts have a lot of planning and work that goes into them. They're vocal forums where somebody will talk about a subject and the other person will add their opinion onto it and they'll keep going from there. Or it'll be somebody like reading off like a prepared script of information. Shit like that. It's higher production value. VTuber collabs are much more free-flowing. They're not refined. They're not made to just be listened to. You're meant to like watch the VTubers' expressions and stuff and their reactions. So we're not like, you got it. Pippa does collabs, not podcasts, because she doesn't plan. It's evolved form of the late night talk shows of old. Exactly, Restless Hollow. Exactly. If on the Joe Rogan podcast, they do DMT. If the podcast is low effort and is not planned, it's not going to take off. Well, Mandrake, thank you. I still don't know what a podcast actually is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. It's basically some people talking, and you're not meant to look at the video. You're meant to just listen to it. But also, sometimes there is a video. VTuber podcasts, one-offs can be good, but regular podcasts are pretty bad. Isn't podcast just primarily audio media? Yeah. Kinda does need scripting, yeah. It does. It does. Jamie, pull that up. Internet radio. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Nathan Summers, thank you. Podcast Podcast only works if the technology works, but with VTubers, there's always tech/internet problems. I'm Corky Dan, thank you. Face Connect, Chili Cook-Off Win. This is Beat Me, thank you. Podcasts are for cringe, Gen X, and Millennials. VTubers are based. The only way I can think of, like, making a podcast work with VTubers would be doing, like, Reddit readings or, like, reading out stories or something, because VTubers have like very distinct voices and are used to talking a lot like that. But at that point, just do a stream of it. Why do a podcast? There's no reason to make it a podcast. Binary goes, thank you. It would be Pippa's Jamie. Would she has to pull that up? At that point, it's just a collab. Yeah. Podcasts also kind of defeat the purpose of VTubing, since the VTubing is primarily visual media. I agree. I don't agree podcasts are a downgrade. I think podcasts are a downgrade. Yeah. I think there's no reason for VTuber to do a podcast, because it's basically just a collab, but more work with less reward, both for the VTuber and the viewer. There's like a tuxedo. Oh, there's a construction worker outfit. No, that's a rat outfit. Oh my god. I need more trash. Repeats, thank you. Everyone thinks they can host a VTuber version of the Joe Rogan Experience, but it ends up being low effort and awkward. True! Chat, I don't think I'm good enough to host the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm sorry. I tried, like, coming up with a bunch of ideas and stuff for Yabcast. And I submitted them to management. And you're not gonna believe this, but it was too yab. And before people start saying, oh my god, Face Connect is like telling the talents what they can and can't do. I mean, kind of, but like, in order to protect us. They're not gonna be like... Okay, because like one of the things was like a 9/11 themed episode, right? And we would talk about 9/11 and like conspiracies around it and stuff, right? And then I got back a DM from one of the managers, and she was like, well, you could do it on 9/11, but can you not talk about planes and stuff during it? It's like, well, I understand that you don't want me to talk about the Twin Towers, but that was kind of the point. It's not even yab. Unfortunately, it is. Listen to management, they're smarter than you. I do listen to them. But that's also why it's like planning all this stuff out for Yabcast and then being told like, oh, well, like this is too yab. It's like there's two directions you can go with something called Yabcast. Okay? You can either talk about stuff that's yab in terms of like conspiracy theories or like no topics like that, or you can talk about like VTuber yabs, right? Like yabs in the industry. Those are like the two connotations that come with the name Yabcast. And obviously we can't talk about other people's yabs, okay? Obviously we're not gonna talk about VTuber industry drama. Yeah, that's just drama farming. And so if the other stuff is too sensitive of content that's gonna like cause problems for the company, obviously we can't do the other one either. What does yab mean anyways? It means like bad. The connotation for yab is like, it's like a term of VTuber in this, like if something like, it doesn't have to be like bad, right? If like yeah, it means dangerous, yeah. But if something happens like naturally on a collab, people aren't hunting down the content to use it against us. If we do something called Yabcast, people are going to be fucking crazy about it. Like that's just the reality of the situation. And you can say, oh, well, don't kneel to the haters or whatever. But you know, sometimes it's easier to avoid a situation that you know is going to cause problems. Like, yeah. Lucas, thank you. It doesn't need to be some amazing production. Just listening to you yap with your coworkers and chat is great. Don't worry about it too much. Well, why does it need to be a podcast then? Why can't I just do collabs and not be held hostage by a specific format? I don't understand the obsession with the podcast format. Why do people want a podcast? It's going to be worse than just watching an organic collab. Who do you think you? Fillion has mentioned you a lot recently. Did you know you're Hiroshi? I am not Hiroshi. She is lying to you. Rick Bane, thank you. Pippa would be peak drama vulturing. Now! I don't get it either. Joe Rogan brain rot. I love the Joe Rogan experience. Okay? It's a great podcast. However, I only listen to that shit like once every 2 weeks. Whenever there's like a very specifically interesting guest on, because other than that, it's like there's so much other stuff to listen to. Collabs are podcasts though. I disagree. I disagree. If you seek out a podcast and you find the equivalent of a VTuber collab, you're not going to want to listen to it because you're going to want to listen to something that isn't contextually dependent on watching the screen. Because the people that are listening to podcasts are fucking driving and working out at the gym and shit. People want yabcast because they want a reoccurring collab. I can understand that aspect of it. Like that part makes sense. But I would rather collab with people when it comes up naturally. I would rather have like an organic idea for like how we can have a good time versus be like, okay, Lumi, it's our weekly designated collab time. I'm gonna thank you. How about a collab with Asmongold? I really like Asmongold, but I don't think that would be a good idea. I think that would be very awkward. I think I'd be like, hello. Farm any good mounts today, good sir?
Everybody, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Low Effort Clips. That's right, Low Effort Clips, right here on YouTube.com. Yeah, and hit the notification bell. Yeah.